Caribbean Sea, 1715. I wake to the strike of wind against the sails, to the press of dark water, and already I cannot tell where sleep ends and the deck begins. My feet slide on the wet planks, my fingers claw at a slick rope, my teeth are clenched from the cold. I breathe, and every breath tastes of salt and gunpowder. I breathe, and in my chest the old bony rhythm rises. The sea and I speak to each other in our language, the whisper of lines, the thud of surf, the creak of wood. I am Edward Thorne. I am captain. Today is one of those days that decide everything. Who will live, and who will be only a name told by the fire. I hold the rope with both hands, and through my palms runs a chill as if fate itself is tugging at the thread of my life. The wind tears the sails like it wants to rip our skin away. On the horizon there's still the smeared light of night, but enough to make out sails. White dots, two wings, one higher, denser, like something stretched taut in triumph. A red sail, my mark. The crew, as always, half asleep, half awake, half ready for death, half ready for laughter. We have learned to live between these halves. I watch them. Ewan, eyes wild and a grin burned into his face like a brand. Thomas, young, too young for this, still asking the questions this life does not welcome. Raph, my old friend, someone I would have given my right hand for without a second thought. Today I feel Raph's glance linger on me longer than usual. I notice it. I do not know what it carries, doubt, fatigue, or something buried deeper. We prepare. I give the order quietly because the storm will swallow my voice anyway. On board there is only order, short phrases, sure movements. We know how to hook a line, how to spring across the merchant's deck, how to shift the heavy fetters of fate. I rarely feel fear, but now it is there, not the kind that cripples, but a precise, calculating thing. Fear has a voice. Don't make a mistake. I know the cost of error, death, capture, disgrace. There is no room for pity at sea. We ram. I give the sign, and the men fly through the air, grappling hooks bite into planking, and we are the first to set foot on another's life. The smells mingle, tar, wine, stale flesh, and the sweet tang of spices we will claim and split between us. The air is gunpowder and dread. We move like a single organism, because otherwise we would fail. I hear steel ring, cries, blows. Lamps flicker, fire flashes in faces, and everything is motion. We take the ship in 10 minutes, and yet those minutes contain an eternity of pain and thunder. On the merchant's deck, someone falls, someone pleads, someone screams. I see blood, and its scent is familiar. Iron, warm and sticky, the same salt, but within men. We seize everything we can, chests, casks, charts. The raider's joy is a brief flare in the chest. I think of a home I never had, of those who laugh around a fire when the sun timidly rises after a night like this. But today the joy is dimmed. There's a rustle in my head, as if something is wrong. Metal gathers on the horizon. Frigates. I see them, ranks of masts like teeth, arranged in a mute accusation, surrounding the bay with a fleet that admits no compromise. The guns are the eyes of royal power, wary and ready to tear life from us. We've walked into a trap. A trap, someone's voice shakes. A man drops to his knees. I will not let panic take me. I must think faster than the sea changes. The ship is laden with loot, but now it's a bag of blood that could burst at any second. I start to maneuver, thread the helm, feel the rocks as if I could touch them with our bow. We weave, perform the impossible, dancing between frigates, trimming and slatting sails. Every broadside that rips the air answers in the body like a hammer blow. Guns sear the deck, planks groan, and I hear something below give way. I bark orders, quick, clipped, no wasted words. People move because they fear disobeying, but also because they know, if I fall, they have no head. And yet, in this dance with death, something shifts the balance, not the outside threat, but an inside poison. I feel someone come up behind me. The voice is soft, almost a whisper, not the voice I know from Raph. We can't keep running like this, he says. I turn and see a glint in his eyes that I do not like. What do you mean? I ask. He smiles too broadly for such a moment. I feel a strain in my chest. I do not trust him, so I give the orders as always. We take shelter among the rocks, and it feels as though the sea itself receives our gamble. Waves crash with vindictive force, gusts threaten to rip men overboard. I climb to the stern to see where we are. My gaze snags on the frigates, and in that instant one of their shots tears the air above us. An order reaches me. Retreat. I feel the ship lose way, and that stirs a fear. a poisonous wool dragging through my veins. We think the danger is without, but betrayal is warmer. It grows from within before you even know. At first I mistake a sound for a snapped nail. Then I see fighting. Knives, fists, the whine of bullets. Men, my men, turn their weapons on one another. I hear the shout, "Captain Thorne," and it is not a call for aid. The voice is delirious with joy, a hunger for new power, for a crown among thieves. The mutiny rises like heat from the bellies of our long nights. Cheap rum, breaks in duty, promises made by a man I called brother. I see Raff at the head of the mob, and the blood in him is colder than the others. His hand grips a pistol as if awaiting applause. "You led us to death," he cries. His eyes do not belong to me anymore. They are glassy and alien. I cannot piece together how it happened. A knife is in my hand. I shout and try to restore order, but my words drown in the tumult. The blows, the shouts, the riggings rattle. Swords clash. The night air fills with metal. I see Thomas fall, a young face torn open, eyes full of questions that will remain unasked. That question rings now in my head. Why did I trust him? The answer sits in the small things. A cup of hot soup, a conversation by the hold, the soft word brother. I thought I knew men. I was wrong. The cries grow louder. The frigate's barrages intensify. Fire catches, at first a thin line, then a tongue. Planks cry out. I hear the wood splinter and understand. Everything is breaking. I dive for the chart below, not for paper, but for what it represents. Our plan, our possibility. They stop me. Hand to hand is mud and sweat and metal where brotherhood lay before. Raff stands before me, and in his smile I read cold calculation. You either die or you bow. Just then, a cannonball finds us, a final joke. It explodes close, planks tear, the deck becomes an angry throat. Flame lashes up, the blast throws me overboard. I fly through the air, and in that arc my whole life fits. The first raids, the father who taught me the helm, the missed whale for sake of men, faces that died laughing and in pain. I soar and drown into black, bitter deep. Water fills my mouth, ears, eyes. It cuts sound, turns time into a slow, muffled stripe. I sink, the world blue and vast. Splinters of wood, of hope, pierce me. I never imagined dying so ingloriously, under explosions and betrayal, but in the depths there is no room for drama, only cold and a thought. If I want to live, I must choose. My first flash is hatred for the traitors. My second is the will to breathe again. I break the surface, air rips my lungs. Around me there is smoke. The burning hull smolders on the horizon. I pull toward shore. The sea would gladly be my grave, but not today. I cling to floating wreckage, like old friends who remain true though they own nothing. I spill onto sand that pricks like 1,000 tiny needles. A wound opens on my side, blood mixes with foam. I lie and hear only one steady thing, the dull drum of blood that mixes with the distant voices of frigates sailing away. The ship burns and each blast cleaves a piece from me. The crew is scattered, many are dead, many swallowed by the dark. All dead. Someone might whisper nearby, and it would be a prophecy. I try to stand. Light falls on my face and I see the reflection. Not the same man who stood at dawn on the deck. My face is seared by salt and blood, eyes emptied from a fire that burned earlier. Memory walks with me here, not as flashbacks, but as companions. The first raid that stole boredom from my name, my father's death that taught me the helm, Raff's midnight laughter, Thomas who trusted me, Ewan's singing of freedom. I understand. The freedom we prized is a thin fabric, torn by a single blade of greed. I do not cry. I have no tears for this. I rise and gather what remains, a knife, a couple of cartridges, a torn piece of chart. I look seaward, where our ensign once flew, now only smoke. The frigates go, their ships drum like distant memory. I do not shout vengeance. The word is too loud for my lips. I do not declare I survive for myself. That would be petty. I count what I have left, a hand beating in my chest, eyes that still see, a mind that can plot. I move slowly along the shore. Each step is a lesson in patience. My feet snag on seaweed, my hands catch on sharp debris. Sand clings to my wounds. I remember fireside songs, the promises I once gave. Now those songs sound different. They are not of loot or laughter, they are about cost. I measure that cost and decide it is too high to walk away. Faces rise in my mind, not to be pitied but to light a torch. Raff, Thomas, Ewan, their images kindle a fire I cannot quench. I swear softly, more a whisper than to the wind or waves, to myself, I will return. The word is not an oath for petty revenge, it is a vow to reclaim what I lost. Not for a flag, but for meaning. If I aim to find the crew or to build another, I must be cold and steady. I collect the scraps of charts that remain and set myself in order as best I can. The wound throbs. It will be a living scar of this day. I wipe my eyes with blood and salt-streaked hands. The grit in my fingers becomes a mark, a record. I bend to the sand and pull from a rotten chest the pouch of coins I hid in the belly of the ship before the world fell apart. Not much. Not enough for a pirate fleet, but enough to start. In my head I already map routes and names. The shipwright in the port town, an old friend who still breathes and can mend a hull. Men who have seen what I have and will trade risk for a new chance. My dreams of vengeance harden into practicality, a plan, a ledger, a chain. Anger is bright, return is strategy. The sun sets and the shore grows dim. I know I cannot linger. The frigates may have left, but their watchful eyes remain. I shove the pouch into my pocket, find shelter behind dunes, and fall asleep with a single thought on repeat. I will return, not as a pawn, but as the one who will lead a new order. It will be a road of years. I must learn to be more cunning, braver, and above all less trusting. Today was the beginning of the end. Tomorrow will be the start of rebirth. In my chest is no peace, only a map of feelings. Guilt, grief, thirst for justice, exhaustion. These do not die, they become a foundation. I want respect, not fear. I want a crew that shares an idea, not only a hunger for gold. I see now that captaining is not wielding a blade, but holding a steady look on who you intend to be when everything around you lies in ruin. I lay my head on a burlap pack and listen to the wind, imagining the day I will raise sail again. Not to steal, but to reclaim my name and honor. In sleep I hear Raph's laughter, but in the dream it is frightened. I wake and smile, not with joy, but because fear has become my compass. I rise. Morning will bring cold, a new plan, and resolve. On this shore alone, with a battered life, I learn to stand. I know one shot will not make a captain, one victory will not make the sea our friend. But I know this too, I still breathe. And while I breathe, new winds can be found.